Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Ol' Switcheroo. This is a podcast that we do with the Nintendo Enthusiast Forum community, but today it is just Will and I from TV Enthusiast. If you'd like to hear some of our other works, check out TV Enthusiast and our weekly podcast, The Weekly Set. But today is all about E3, and more specifically, all about Nintendo's E3, which starts tomorrow at, I believe, 8 a.m. Pacific time. So, we are going to talk about that right now. We're talking about it before the event happens and just kind of going over what we think's going to happen, what we'd like to see happen, kind of our expectations, and maybe a little bit about what we thought of E3 in general so far, since Nintendo is the last conference and everybody else has had their turn. So, kicking things off right away, joining me today, I'm Tyson, by the way, and joining me today is Will.
Hello.
And so, Will, I want to ask you, do you think Nintendo is in a position to win E3 this year?
Yes, I think they are. If they show the right game, sure. I think Mario is a fantastic game. Mario is definitely, it looked great back in January. I think an extended look on it will further show how fantastic it looks. It definitely looks like one of the top games of the year. Nintendo, they have other games coming up. If they pull a surprise out of their hat, if they show, like, say, well, what I'm really hoping for, if they show a new Metroid Prime, they'll certainly win E3, at least for me.
Yeah. The way, I'm looking at it with Mario is interesting, because I think we kind of forget about Mario when we're talking about E3 right now with Nintendo, or when you hear anybody talking about it, they're talking about, I'm not expecting a lot of surprises and stuff, but I think there's a lot of people just kind of forget that Mario's in play, and that we really haven't seen that much of it. There's a lot more to show, and if you remember, the first trailers we were getting for, the first shots and scenes we were getting for Zelda, Breath of the Wild, told us nothing until what happened at E3 last year.
Oh, yeah.
E3 last year is when we found out kind of how open that world is, how much you can climb and you can, cook and everything you could do, and it blew away everyone.
Nintendo came to E3 with just that one game on the Wii U, and they dominated. They dominate E3. So when you ask, can Nintendo win E3, they certainly can. They've proven that with the right games, even with one right game, they can do that. It wasn't a surprise, but Zelda blew everybody away.
Yeah, it wasn't the surprise that it was there, because everybody knew it was there, and everybody knew it was the only thing that was going to be there. It was how much of a game that game turned out to be that blew everyone away. And they could do that again with Mario. They could literally show us nothing else and just blow Mario out, and for all we know, Mario could be just this insane thing that we just have never seen before.
Right.
And the trailer that we got could be nothing compared to what we're getting in the whole game. We just don't know. And if anybody can pull that off, it's Nintendo.
Oh, yeah.
But there are some other games that are going to be showing there. For sure, we're going to see Splatoon 2. I expect we're going to see some ARMS, maybe not that much in the digital event, but I'm sure we're going to see a ton of it because they're going to do a tournament for one thing.
They're going to do a tournament. It's coming out this Friday.
I'm sure we'll see a lot of it on the Treehouse too, and it's coming out on Friday. Yeah, so it's going to be pretty dense. They're going to do a lot of promotion for that. I don't know if they're going to put in more than a minute or something into the actual direct pre-event thing for Splatoon, but they're going to be showing it throughout the weekend in their other coverage for sure. They're going to, like I said, so that's ARMS and Splatoon. You also have the Rabbids X Mario game that Ubisoft just showed off. I'm not expecting, I'm actually really hoping they don't show much of that in the actual, in their 25-minute video, but we're going to be getting that on Treehouse Live and some other things, I'm sure. Then we have, there's a few other games. I'd kind of like to see a little bit more of that Ubisoft game that they showed, the multi-plat game with the Toys to Life thing that's modular.
I really hope Nintendo doesn't waste any time showing that.
I'd like to see that on Treehouse.
Maybe Treehouse.
I'd like to see how that working in action on
digital
Treehouse.
Event, definitely not. Please.
Oh no, I don't need to see the trailer again. I want to see how that actually works on Treehouse and see how.
Yeah,
it
that looked kind of interesting. It did.
Yeah. It looks like, it has its own, Switch dock thing for the controllers. And, so yeah, I'm kind of interested in that and seeing kind of what they're doing with that and what their plan is. So I expect maybe we'll see some more of that, if not through Nintendo Treehouse, through maybe on the show floor for Ubisoft or something. We'll see. But what else are you expecting from Nintendo this year?
I'm expecting to see more Xenoblade Chronicles 2. Mario is a given. Definitely expecting to see, basically see what they're like. More Pokken Tournament is a given. We're gonna see more of that. Mm-hmm. We're gonna see more of Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon. Actually, we tend to forget, but the 3DS is still very much a thing. Reggie recently told GF Kaylee on YouTube Live on E3 on Monday. Reggie said we have a lot of Nintendo 3DS content to talk about.
Mm-hmm. But they also said, Nintendo said when they announced that this the video presentation was going to be focused on 2017, it also said on Switch games for 2017.
Okay.
So I think a lot of the stuff we're going to see on 3DS is going to be in Treehouse.
Maybe. I mean, just don't get disappointed if they spend some time talking about 3DS.
I will. Don't worry, I will be disappointed.
Because
I will be disappointed when they do spend time talking about 3DS.
I'm interested. We'll probably see Fire Emblem Warriors for the first time. That'll be cool.
We've seen a little bit of it, but we should get like kind of an actual real push on that. Like a real trailer. Because they showed that they did the Fire Emblem Direct in Japan.
Right.
So we did get our first footage. That's when they announced that it was coming for the 3DS as well. Yeah. Is there anything that you think that we're getting that we haven't heard of or seen yet? Do you think we have any real surprises left? I mean, Rayman, the Rabbids X Mario game was one of the worst kept secrets, but that could technically be counted as a surprise.
Well, they're gonna talk
because it was planned as a surprise.
They're gonna talk about 2017 games. The majority of games they talk about is 2017, and then there's gonna be the one more thing, and it's gonna be a sneak peek.
Fireworks.
It's gonna be it's gonna be a sneak peek at a game coming out in 2018. And it's gonna be a teaser, and it's gonna be for Wii Sports Switch Edition.
The same games, the same graphics.
Games, same graphics. Just remastered in 1080p graphics of 720p on your Switch.
It'll be called Switch Sports,
and
now.
It'll be developed by Retro Studios. Will be porting that.
Yeah, that's their next game.
No, I'm going to go out on a limb and say this is finally the year that we get Metroid, in some form. If my personal hope is Metroid Prime from Retro, proper, but it could also be a 2D Metroid, or...
I'm saying Platinum, baby. That's what I want. Platinum said their next Switch game, or they have a Switch game they're working on that's interesting. I'm hoping for Metroid.
The surprise game is I'm going to say it's either going to be Metroid, or it's going to be, a Platinum Studios game. The Platinum Studios game that they're working on. It's gonna be one or the other. I think the Platinum Studios game is probably a bit more likely than Metroid, but I mean, we've gone so long. Retro has to be doing something. Nintendo.
It's gonna be Princess Peachonetta.
Nintendo is well aware.
It's gonna be Bayonetta starring Princess Peach.
Nintendo is well aware that the fans want Metroid. I mean, Reggie was trolling the fans. He was wearing like a Samus pin like two years ago. I mean, so Nintendo is aware. So I do think, given that we don't know what Retro's been working on, and given the awareness that Nintendo has that we do want the return of this franchise, I think there's a good possibility that Metroid could show up.
And given the backlash and failure of Federation Forces,
right? I
think there's a good chance that if we are getting a Metroid reveal, that it's something that's going to be exciting. Like, they can't just bullshit us with a Metroid, They can't do that again.
We have to find out what Retro's working on. They finished Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze in 2014. They haven't been reported to have been working on anything else. I know they assisted on Mario Kart 9, but there wasn't any reports of them doing any assistance on any any other Nintendo games that came out so far. So what have they been doing since 2014? That's a huge question mark. And, you gotta figure.
Well, we know exactly what they've been doing. They've been cooking and eating lots of barbecue.
So,
They've made that clear on Twitter.
You gotta figure they have something to announce. They have something to show. They have to by now. And I think what I think is they would have announced a new project sooner, but because Nintendo was transitioning from Wii U to Switch, that kind of delayed the announcement of their new game, because they probably could have announced it last year, but by last E3 it was a Switch game and Nintendo wasn't talking about Switch. So I think this year is the year. I'm being optimistic.
I know a lot of people are hoping for Metroid from them. I'm not. I'm hoping for Metroid, but like I said, I'm hoping for it from Platinum. I think it's time. Retro needs an original IP, and I keep saying this every time. I think I said this the last E3 thing we did.
I say this too all the time. Like I'm in full agreement with you. I don't think that's happening. I gave up on that dream.
Yeah.
It looks like Nintendo's content to give Retro their franchises, and Retro is content to work on Nintendo franchises. And that's I would say my biggest dark horse announcement would be a brand new Retro IP.
That would be so amazing. I'm hoping that that's the case. That they do something that really speaks to their talents and the staff they have in their company, and that's wholly their own, in the same way that, Naughty Dog has Uncharted, and, Epic has both Gears and Unreal, and, these companies, and they have
Epic
their game that's like their marquee
anymore.
game. Well, yeah, I guess, Microsoft has enough. But, like these studios, they have these games that, like, they're known for, Rockstar has Grand Theft Auto,
and Microsoft is, like, the worst company to point to in that regards, because, their third parties have a game, and then that's it. And then it's like, basically, oh, you're making Halo forever. Don't forget, you're here forever. You're making Gears of War forever. So...
One game a year, just a constant stream.
Yeah, just a constant stream.
But yeah, I want them to make a game that's like gonna be their marquee game, their game that they control, that they establish. I fully agree.
I've been wanting this since the GameCube games. When they showed off Raven Blade for the GameCube, in the run up to the GameCube releasing, which I got so hyped for GameCube, I ate up every piece of information that I could find.
When they were founded, they had 5 games in development at once.
Oh yeah, and most of them looked like...
all of those were canceled.
Yeah, well,
except one, which was turned into Metroid. It was a different game.
Who wants some shitty football game? I'm sorry, but like most of those games were garbage. But Raven Blade looked interesting. It was a fantasy RPG for the GameCube. Who knows? The demo could have been abject shit. It looked like nothing they were working on was really good, and that's why they were canceled. But it was an interesting idea, I thought, that I would have liked to see them go back to. Maybe not so much nowadays, because I think since then, it's been, Elder Scrolls came out and all this stuff, so it's kind of been there, done that at this point.
And there's a lot of studios that are really good at that kind of game right now. Right. I mean, you have like the studio that does the Witcher games, and you have Monolith Soft, and which is Nintendo, and then you have Bethesda, so there's like all of these companies that are really good at making that specific type of game. So it's not a great area to kind of like make a name for yourself in right now.
No, it's not. But I mean, I thought for GameCube, they should totally do that
at that time.
But
remember that the very first GameCube game ever seen was a single screenshot from their car combat game that never came out.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
IGN leaked that. It was a screenshot it was just called Car Combat at the time, working title. And it was just a single screenshot. It was supposed to be like a Twisted Metal style game. And it never happened. For better or worse, we don't know how those would have turned out with more development time, but it's interesting to think how they had like 5 games in development. 4 were outright canceled. 1 was shifted into Metroid and then completely reworked basically till there was like nothing left of the original idea. And then they've just been doing like 1 game at a time since then, with the occasional help. They did some help with Mario Kart 7. I don't know if they did anything on 8. But I know they did some track designs on 7.
The only thing listed on their website is is Mario Kart 7, and I can't find anything about any other projects they assisted on, just Googling or on their website. So it doesn't look like they did anything with 8.
It's interesting because they're kind of like the American counterpart to Monolith Soft in Japan, because Monolith Soft does the same thing. They work on kind of one big game at a time in the Xenoblade series, which is their own, which is the difference. But then they, on top of that, they also do assistance. So whereas Retro assisted with Mario Kart 7, and Retro apparently also is like a go-to liaison for Western third parties from Nintendo. Like they'll send developers from Retro to third parties in the West. That's been kind of reported on. They said that Ubisoft said that with like Red Steel, that when they were making Red Steel 2, a bunch of people from Retro came by and were like helping them like get the most out of the Wii. So I know they've been doing that function as well. Monolith kind of does that in Japan, like for Nintendo. Like they were heavily involved in Breath of the Wild, you know, and in some of the areas like world design and stuff, you know, and they were before that for Skyward Sword, and they've done some assistance on some other Nintendo games apparently as well. So they're kind of like their American equivalent of Monolith Soft. The only difference is that Monolith has their flagship, you know, their marquee title that's them. They have the Xeno franchise, and Retro still doesn't have anything that's their own.
Yeah, no, totally. So I totally agree with you. So what's your big predictions for the show tomorrow?
I have kind of a few predictions, not necessarily like a specific game we haven't heard of, but I think that we're going to get a few third-party games that we didn't know about. And when I say we didn't know about, I mean we didn't know about for the Switch.
Okay, right.
That they're going to say, yes, this is also coming to Switch. They already said at E3 that it's not going to be Call of Duty. Somebody, Activision said that.
I'm skeptical about any big third-party announcements, but, you know, we've seen what the other parties have laid out on table, and none of that is for Switch. You know, none of the
it doesn't necessarily have to be something big, or even something that we've seen at E3.
There's
from
definitely
going to
be like indie games. There's going to be indie games. There's probably going to be a sizzle reel of indie games, and
there's also kind of the B games that a lot of companies don't show at E3, but still come from big companies like EA and you know, so I could totally see something like that coming to Switch as well as other systems, you know, like not an exclusive, but like an example I brought up, but they do show it at E3, unfortunately, because nobody wants to watch it at E3, is like Just Dance from Ubisoft, you know, like that. Of course, that's coming to Switch. You know, we knew that before it was showing, and it did. It is coming to Switch, you know, so stuff like that, like that's a multi-plat. It's gonna happen. It's gonna be on the Switch. That's all there is to say about it. It doesn't necessarily mean it's something that we're gonna like, but I think we're gonna see more of that. And that could mean something that's like Just Dance, that's shitty, that nobody really cares about, you know? Or it could be something that people do care about. I'm not expecting Call of Duty. I'm not expecting Battlefield. I'm not expecting Assassin's Creed. But there are other things that very well could make it over, you know? There are other games that aren't necessarily as impressive, but aren't indie games either, you know? They're kind of like the B-tier games, and they don't get a lot of coverage at E3. They're games, a lot of them that we already know are coming, and there's just been, you know, they're not going to hype them up at E3 because that's when they want to hype up their huge showpieces, you know? And I think some of those games, some of those kind of like B-tier games, we're going to see some for Switch that are going to be in development for Switch as well.
Right.
So that's one of my predictions. We're going to get a few of those, not just like one or something, but a few of those that we haven't seen yet. I also think that we're going to get something revealed or shown at E3, in their press thing that's going to be then made available like immediately. It could be, you know, hey, they could drop the Zelda DLC like that. They could say like, oh, here's some real footage of the new Zelda DLC. Remember we said it's coming in summer? Well, here it is. They never gave a date for it. So it could be something like that, or it could be like, you know, a virtual console type thing. Like they said that the virtual console, they don't really have the idea for it, but it could be something along those lines. It could be like you know, in the way that they've released the Neo Geo games, you know, the one company has released a bunch of Neo Geo games on it. They could do that and have it still not be Virtual Console, you know?
Right.
Like they could say, oh, you know, we're actually going to release this, we're going to release Super Metroid, you know, like anniversary edition or whatever on Switch, and here it is today, you know, or just something along those lines. And it's probably not going to be something huge, but they're going to say that. They're going to say, and it's available today. So that's like another kind of prediction I have. It could be an app for all we know.
Right, it could be.
Maybe it'll come, maybe the Animal Crossing game will hit iOS and Android, you know? We don't know. But, I think something along those lines is gonna happen. That's kind of like my big predictions. I think maybe we'll get one more game that we've never heard of that's like from Nintendo or a second party or something. Maybe just one game. That's all I'm expecting. And I'm a little sad about that. But like I said, you know, it's easy to dismiss how big Mario is going to be at the show because we're talking about what we're expecting to see in surprises.
Right.
And I don't think this is going to be really big on surprises. I don't think there's going to be a lot of surprises at Nintendo show. But yeah, you know, we're going to have Mario. That's going to be a huge deal.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, totally. So I'm looking forward to that. Yeah, that's all I got.
Yeah, so that's kind of like what we're kind of expecting and kind of vaguely hoping for at tomorrow's Nintendo E3 event. It's only going to be 25 minutes. Reggie did say it's going to be rapid fire, though. And their last direct, the one that was focused on ARMS and Splatoon, delivered a shocking amount of content in its short time, you know? Like, literally, like, 3/4 of that conference, which was already a short thing, it was already like a half-hour thing, like 3/4 or more of that was just Splatoon and ARMS. And that remaining time, they were able to cram quite a few things into. So maybe we will see quite a few things. Do you think we're going to get like a third-party reel or like an indie reel or something like that?
Yeah, we'll get indie reel for sure. We'll get a third-party reel, which will be the indie reel. And yeah, that'll happen for sure.
Are there any big indie games you think that we're going to get that haven't been announced yet?
I can't think of any. I honestly have no idea what.
I think
Rocket League maybe.
I think Rocket League on Switch would make so much sense. I think that appeals to like kind of like the same crowd as like Splatoon and stuff, and that ability to have that on the go, and it's not really a super demanding game. I could totally see that being a Switch game coming to Switch.
Oh yeah, I could totally see that too.
But they already showed, Nintendo already did their indie showcase direct thing, and that was pretty surprising, the amount of stuff they showed in that, you know?
Right, yeah.
Because we do have so many big indie games coming. I mean, like, we have the SteamWorld Dig 2, which SteamWorld Dig is such a fun game. So Dig 2 should be really good too. And yeah, there's just a lot of stuff that's like either exclusive or has like limited exclusivity, that I'd be really looking forward to seeing on Switch. And those are already announced, so I don't know how much more they're going to announce, because most of the games they showed in that aren't out yet.
Right, exactly. So I don't know.
We said that the focus is on 2017. You think there's going to be a big 2018 game in there?
Yeah,
Do you think there's going to be
either a Metroid or Platinum's game. Yeah, that's what I said. It's only going to be one. They're not going to talk about like a bunch of games for 2018, but yeah.
Probably not playable on the show floor.
Probably not.
Just like a trailer. Yeah, that's going to be cool. Reggie also said that they're going to be showing stuff throughout Treehouse. They're going to be making announcements. He said that they're going to break news within the first hour of the Treehouse footage.
Right.
I think that's mostly going to be 3DS content.
Yeah, I think so.
It's going to be like, I think we're going to see a lot of stuff that came to Japan that we haven't seen here yet. Maybe something like Detective Pikachu. Stuff that, you know, was kind of big in Japan but never came here, you know, but is still kind of due.
Oh, I don't know.
I think we're going to get some stuff like that. And, I don't know if we're going to necessarily get something we've never heard of before on 3DS. It's going to be stuff that wasn't localized yet, for the most part. But, we'll have to see what ends up happening with that. I'm hoping there's not much, because I just want the 3DS to die.
Right. It won't.
The sooner the 3DS dies, the sooner Nintendo's got a singular focus. And that's what I want.
That's not happening, but okay.
Yeah, I know it's not going to happen, but I'm hoping. I can hope. I can have
Well,
dreams.
we'll have to see what happens tomorrow with all of that. Certainly going to be exciting to see what actually does happen, whether Nintendo disappoints us or fulfills all our dreams, or it's always the moments leading up to that are always some of the most exciting of E3 for me.
Yeah. And of course, after the direct event, we'll, eventually sometime later this week, hopefully we'll record, another podcast where we're going to talk about, what we think about the reveals of what happened. And we still have our Zelda podcast that we have to do. We keep talking about that being the next thing we're doing. But we have to keep putting that off just because we're trying to get with everyone's schedules on that.
Ready. How about that?
We'll do it when we're ready. But right now, we're going to play like video game publishers now and say we'll release it when it's ready.
Yes.
But yeah, so that's still somewhere down in the pipeline. We still plan on doing it. It's too big of a game not to. It was too amazing of a game not to. And we have a lot to talk about with that. So we'll do that at some point later. And like I said, hopefully sometime this week, we'll get in a E3 reaction podcast where we'll talk about that. We're I think gonna be done right now talking about Nintendo stuff, but we're gonna talk a little bit about other E3 stuff. So if you only care about the Nintendo stuff, just kind of tune out now. If you wanna stick around and listen to some more kind of E3 stuff, and we're not gonna talk a lot about it. We're gonna go over it briefly. That's what we're gonna talk about now. So what's been your highlight of E3 so far?
My highlight of E3 so far? I can't really think of anything as a highlight. Metro, what is it called? Metro Exodus? Looked freaking phenomenal.
That's from the Metro Less Light people?
Yeah. That looked
okay.
phenomenal. Spider-Man on PS4, that looked fantastic.
Haven't seen that yet. I heard that's really good though.
Yeah, that's really good.
Who's making that? There's a good developer on that. I can't remember who it was.
Insomniac.
On Spider-Man. Okay. They're the Ratchet and Clank guys?
Yeah, they're the Ratchet and Clank guys, yeah.
Okay, so that should be good.
Trying to think, what else impressed me? Far Cry 5 at Ubisoft looked good.
It did the one thing that I always criticize E3 presentations of doing though, which is the long scene where people are sneaking up like stealthily on an encampment while whispering into microphones.
Oh yes. Yeah.
Thankfully they then broke that up by having, crazy characters and a teammate that's a wild dog that bites people.
That was great. That was freaking great. No, I thought Anthem looked phenomenal. I'm kind of disappointed. Like, it's basically Destiny. I was kind of disappointed it was basically Destiny, but visually.
So more shooter than RPG.
Yeah, it wasn't. But visually, it looked amazing. It's probably some of the best graphics I've seen this gen on anything. Metro also, by the way, graphically kind of wowed me. I guess we're at the point where the generation has matured to where you're seeing a real difference between this gen and last gen. Whereas for first,
well, it's also the footage they're showing is from the half gen now.
Yeah, that's true. But
like the footage they're showing isn't from the PS4 and the Xbox One. It's from like the PS4 Pro, or even more so the Scorpio.
Yeah, but those are like some extra effects, and you can't. Those are mostly built for 4K, and that's not going to come across on my 32-inch 1080p screen. So I'm certainly not saying wow because of 4K. I can't see.
I don't know.
4K.
I think the Xbox One X is adding a lot more than just the higher resolution. That system, I think it quadrupled the teraflops it's putting out.
Yeah, it's 6 teraflops or whatever.
It used to be like 1.4.
I think to say that most of that is on the Xbox One X, or I think is to give those systems more credit than you should, because these games still have to be built to run on a regular Xbox, a regular PS4, and yeah. I don't imagine them looking.
But it's kind of a little bit of a watchdog scenario.
I don't imagine them looking that much worse.
But it's also kind of like a Watchdog scenario where like Watch Dogs looked so amazing when we first saw it because it was being done on a PC with like PS4 and Xbox One specs in mind.
Oh yeah, definitely.
When they showed that before those systems had been revealed, so it was like, oh my god, it looks so amazing.
That's completely different because they were developing those games for PS4 and Xbox One, and then Ubisoft came in and said, we want these games on last gen too. can you develop them for make it so it fits into last gen? And so they had to kind of, dumb it down.
These games will scale better.
These games will scale better because it's not like they know the base minimum target they have to hit graphics wise, and they can scale from there. But I just
like, do you think, for example, Beyond Good and Evil 2 was a render, or do you think that was actually using in-game assets?
It's hard to say. I'm gonna say a render. Like, I'm gonna
because I was gonna say, if that's using in-game assets, there is no way in hell that is looking anything like that on the PS4 or the Xbox One.
Oh, Laura Kate Dale.
Like, there's
Laura
some
Kate Dale
levels
said
of
it was
detail
a Switch exclusive. I took one.
There's some level of detail, like scaffolding on buildings and stuff, that was like way beyond what even like the PS4 and Xbox One can handle.
And somebody actually posted like a thread on Nintendo Lobby on IGN. It says, "Do you think Beyond Good and Evil 2 is Switch exclusive today?" And I was like, "Did you watch that trailer?" Does it look like the Switch can do anything
It could be
remote?
if that trailer is like a cinema, and then the rest of the game takes place in narrow corridors.
Oh my god, that was right. Narrow corridors, yeah, exactly. Oh,
every time it goes to like a big expansive thing, it's just a cutscene.
Yeah,
it's just like a CG cutscene.
Oh god. Oh man. Yeah, no. I did think with Beyond Good and Evil, I did think it was interesting that they didn't announce a platform and that Sony and Microsoft did not mention it at their respective press conferences. I think
it is going to be Switch exclusive. It's going to be Switch Pro 4K exclusive in 2020.
Yeah. It's going to be for the Switch Pro 4K, which Nintendo will surprise announce tomorrow with Beyond Good and Evil as a launch title.
No, they're going to announce it in 2020.
Yeah.
And the game's going to be coming out late in its lifespan.
Switch Pro for 2020, Beyond Good and Evil 2 for 2025, only on Switch Pro. That's Nintendo's conference tomorrow. Boom, we figured it out.
So we have to mention, because our two co-hosts that are usually on with us that aren't on today are such huge Monster Hunter junkies, we have to mention Monster Hunter on PS4, Monster Hunter Worlds. You and I don't really play Monster Hunter. I think we both basically played the demo, probably the demo that was on Wii U.
Yeah, I mostly played demo. I mostly
that's about the extent of
played
our
demo,
knowledge.
maybe like the first part of Monster Hunter 4 that I got with my new 3DS when I bought that. So I haven't really dug into it to know. Like, apparently the reaction online is overwhelmingly negative by people who know this franchise. I don't know this franchise. It looked like Monster Hunter to me. So I didn't see like all the things that were wrong with it. Supposedly, it looked fine to me.
I've only seen screens so far, so
it looked okay to me. So I was not upset, but
did they show gameplay or was it more trailer-like?
They showed gameplay. You know what is interesting though? They didn't really show. They did show a lot of gameplay, but they didn't show much of the combat or how the combat works.
What I'm wondering is, I know that it's like a big deal in Monster Hunter with the structure of the game that you have these very limited areas that you can explore. And like, it looks like you're in a big open area, but then you take like 20 steps and it loads you into another area. And those are kind of strategic. Like, they put those in there as like quick escapes and stuff, like to reset if you're fighting certain monsters and stuff. So I know that people actually like those. I always was annoyed to hell by them because they happen so frequently. I'm wondering, in the video that they showed and of the gameplay they show, was it like that? Or is like the title Monster Hunter World implying more of like an open world?
Right. Well, it is an open world Monster Hunter, that is for sure. The press release Capcom put out confirmed that.
Okay, so it's not gonna like load into these little segments.
No, it doesn't load it. It's all full open world Monster Hunter.
It's weird because in most cases you'd see like, oh, fans are gonna love that. It's like, finally, they got this game to do like this. But I know that those sectors had become such like an important thing in the Monster Hunter community as far as like planning and strategy goes. into those games that like I see that and I'm like, open world, that sounds great. But then I know that there's so many people that rely on those sectors.
This is designed to pander to a Western audience. And Capcom designed this, and they made changes to gameplay that they think will appeal more to a Western audience than their traditional Monster Hunter audience.
Baby's first Monster Hunter. It's a weird move because I think it's just kind of dumb because, it's kind of like insulting their own fan base that they do have for Monster Hunter, which is a pretty big fan base and pretty dedicated, to kind of put so much of a focus on like a console version when, even Monster Hunter started on console, but it didn't become successful till it was on portable. And it became such an important part of like the lifestyle around Monster Hunter is portable and in Japan. And it was, teenagers and 20-somethings and kids that would get together with their friends and they'd play like in a cafe after school in like 4-player co-op. And that was Monster Hunter. That's what made it so huge. At first on the PSP and then later on the 3DS. Now, by making it this kind of console thing, it's going to be on PS4, which has sold well in Japan. The Xbox One thing is, just for America, I guess, and Europe. But the fact that they're announcing it at a Western conference and it's not portable it's going to grate on like big Monster Hunter fans. And that's a huge and dedicated fan base,
Oh, it is, for sure.
So we're in agreement. Money exchanged hands here.
Probably.
This is Sony basically paying, and they left up the possibility of the multi-plat for Xbox One because all they care about is having a game for Japan, and the Xbox One is a non-entity there, complete non-entity there.
Right, exactly.
So do you have any other games that you were really excited for in E3 so far?
Well, what about you? What games were you excited for?
For me, nothing really got my attention that much. There was a lot of stuff that I saw that I'm like, oh, that looks really cool, but it doesn't look fun. An example would be like, Ubisoft's like Pirates game. I'm like, That would be a really cool Netflix series.
Yeah, exactly.
Or same thing with Beyond Good and Evil 2. I almost kind of wish that was a show more.
There's a lot of things that were like, this would be cool if it wasn't what it was. So there was a lot, I got a lot of feeling of that. It's like, oh, it's a cool idea that they're wasting on this game. So, I got that feeling, I got that impression a lot this E3. Unfortunately, Garm's industry, I guess. So, it's a shame. It's a damn shame. I think the game industry, industrying as hard as they can, kind of contributed to this E3 not being as good as it possibly could be.
The one thing I am looking forward to playing, and there was, related to this, there was a surprise of South Park. I absolutely adore the Stick of Truth, the first South Park RPG. Such an amazing game, exactly like playing an episode of South Park, except a really long episode.
You know what was a surprise for me? I looked at Mario and Rabbids Kingdom Battle, and I actually liked what I saw. Liked enough to want to play it. That surprised me.
I saw that game and I said, this game would be pretty fun to play in multiplayer, like 1v1 multiplayer.
Yes.
And I'm hoping that they still announce that, and that would make it interesting to me. As like an RPG to play through, it didn't really do much for me. I thought it looked cute, and it was a fun little trailer to watch, but it doesn't really invest me. But I could totally like play the game with you or something online if they had that mode. I could see that being fun. But the one thing that really excited me so far, like I said, is South Park. I just love the first South Park RPG. I've been looking forward to the second one, so seeing any more of that was great. And then there was a surprise that we got with the mobile game that I'm hoping isn't a free to play.
No,
I'm
going to
hold
be. I just
South Park 2 that.
I just ignored that outright. I don't even know what the hell was said because I saw a mobile game and I just stopped paying attention.
I'm going to hold South Park 2 that it's not going to be a bullshit free to play because they did a whole episode about how bullshit free to play is.
It's going to be free to play.
If they turned around and did a bullshit, like, free to play is one thing, but I'm talking about like that exact formula.
It's going to be that exact formula of our shit.
I can't imagine, Matt and Trey doing that because they were pretty scathing about what they thought about free-to-play games in an episode of South Park, and they have pretty tight control over their franchise as it's handled by Ubisoft.
Well, we'll see. We'll see what happens with that.
Yeah. I'm interested though, because I love South Park, so anytime something South Park comes up, I'm excited for it. And, you know, the last RPG was awesome, the next one looks good. The mobile game, from what I saw, actually looks pretty good. It's just gonna be a matter of if it's gonna have the bullshit free-to-play stuff in it or not. I'm hoping not. Because Matt and Trey scathed that before, so.
I don't want to grade E3 on a whole. If I had to grade E3 right now without Nintendo's contribution, I would say overall it was a B. I didn't get that, oh my god, holy shit moment, you know, where I got like super unreasonably excited. Anything, if
Not at Just Dance?
Oh, yeah, right? Especially for the Wii. I'm going to pick that up for the Wii. Hardcore. That just blew me away. I can't believe it. No, again, not for anything. And you know, I missed that feeling this year. I did, and it was kind of a blah feeling. You know, I actually thought if anybody could do that this year, it would be Microsoft. I felt Microsoft has always been so lax.
Because of Scorpio, they'd be showing something big.
They'd be showing something big, you know, like a big exclusive. They didn't. They just like pretended to have exclusive games, like they had timed exclusive games, and they sit there and they pretend that that's exclusive and that's all they need. So they pretended to have exclusive games and they shouted the word exclusive 8 million times as if it meant something to anybody. And it was for most of the...
And then the actual trailers came out and showed PS4 on it.
And most of these games that they got time exclusive are just these really inconsequential indie games. You know, nobody was blown away by them in the first place. You know, shouting exclusive didn't like impress anybody to get to run out and buy an Xbox for this. I think if Microsoft exclusive, Microsoft deserves to be mocked endlessly for that. You know, I mean, this whole timed exclusive thing needs to like kind of stop. You know, it's very silly. I give Sony a lot of credit for not shouting the word exclusive over and over again, and for their exclusives actually being exclusives. You know, and without them having to go out of their way to point it out. That's you know, they didn't run a trailer for God of War and say, oh, by the way, this is PlayStation exclusive. Please, I can't stress this enough, exclusive. You know, I don't even think they mentioned the word exclusive. They just showed the game, which is, you know, it shows the difference between Sony's and Microsoft's approach to things, whereas Microsoft came off very insecure in that way during their press conference, you know.
Microsoft is singing Respect by Aretha Franklin, but replacing RESPECT with EXCLUSIVE.
Oh my god, it was bad. You know, they're trying to get you to buy a $500 box. You know, they announced this thing, it's $500, which is, you know, I mean, that's what the original Xbox One launched at. So apparently Microsoft thinks that their consoles are worth $500 at launch. Apparently that's Microsoft's price point, you know, for consoles going forward. You know, I was very surprised after the heat that Xbox One got at that price, being $100 more expensive than the PS4, losing the market advantage to Sony early in the game, and they're still struggling to get that market advantage back. You know, that they would go with $4.99 again. I just thought that's so misguided. And then on top of that, to say, okay, this is really expensive, but then they didn't showcase a games lineup that justified that cost, that justified buying that system. And it was really disappointing.
I'd say if I was to grade E3 so far, pre-Nintendo, I'd give it more around the range of a D+, C-.
I would say B.
To me, it was really only South Park that I was excited about.
I would say EA was a D. They were better than last year. I mean, I didn't want to, I didn't feel the overwhelming urge to just shut it off. So, that's an improvement. They did show a couple things that were interesting. I did like what I did see of Battlefront 2, even though they went way too long with that. They did that with several things where they just droned on and on about stuff. That was bad.
That old structure in general, and Sony did this too, and Ubisoft did it, of here's a game, here's the trailer, now here's somebody speaking about the game, now here's a game demo.
EA was really the worst offender of that. I just felt they really
it's played out. It's
did
tired.
That worse than anybody else. So that they were a D. Microsoft was a C. Microsoft showed a lot of games, which is good. 90% of those games were multi-platform, which is bad. You don't get points for multi-platform games that I can just buy on PS4. So and they're introducing a new console, which is interesting. So they had so my reasoning for Microsoft is they had the job of selling me a brand new system, convincing me that.
Hey, but they also announced that backwards compatibility with the original Xbox,
which is great, which is fantastic,
is coming to Xbox One.
So
you can play all 2 of the games worth playing on that system.
I get to play Panzer Dragoon Orta and Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic. The only 2 games I ever cared about. That's great. That's fantastic. I was happy with that.
And Halo 1 and Halo 2.
Those are on the Master Chief Collection.
Already unnecessary.
Yeah, it's already unnecessary. No, I was happy about that, but then they announced literally one game. Really? One game. This is what we give Nintendo shit for with the Virtual Console. Because Nintendo will be oh, we've discontinued the Wii U, but here's Mario Kart 64 on the Virtual Console after 5 years. So that kind of trickle of games is okay, so you announced this so you only have one game ready to go. Really? Microsoft, please.
We accept that a little bit from Nintendo just because Nintendo's the Willy Wonka video games. We kind of expect them to do things that annoy the shit out of us in line with the things that delight us. That's just kind of who Nintendo is. You don't expect that from a company who's in it and in a soulless way like Microsoft's. You just want them to deliver what people want. You're not ever going to expect them to do something unexpected.
No.
You would from Nintendo. You just want them to give you the stuff you want. And when they show one game for something, it's really?
Yeah.
And they'll say, what, Nintendo did that? And it's yeah, because Nintendo's fucking Willy Wonka.
But it was
Nintendo did that, and then they showed us a chocolate fucking waterfall.
But the way I looked at Microsoft's press conference was they had to sell me on Scorpio, and they didn't. There wasn't one exclusive game there that I saw that said.
Did they give a date for the Scorpio?
Oh yeah, it was November 7th, I believe. November 7th, $4.99. Way too much money. So they had to have some killer exclusives that made you, that looked great, and then made you say, hey, I gotta get a Scorpio now, because, this game looks fantastic, and you can only get it on a Scorpio. Didn't happen. Did not happen at all. They showed, the best games they showed were Metro and Anthem. Both of those are going to be on the PS4, on the PS4 Pro. PS4 Pro is $100 less. Why would you buy an Xbox? So they failed in that basic mission, so I give them but they showed a lot of games, so I give them a C.
Mm-hmm. What about Bethesda?
Bethesda, I gave them a B. They're a solid B. They didn't show a lot of games, but what they did show looked good. Both Wolfenstein and The Evil Within 2 look great. And the best of all, they're coming out this year. Everything they showed is 2017. You gotta give them major props for that. To be saying, you're gonna be playing this in a few months. You're not gonna be waiting. It's amazing.
It's funny that all these companies are in direct opposition to what Nintendo is getting criticized for, kind of, because it's all these companies, they show stuff that's not coming out till way there, and everyone's come on, show us shit that's coming out this year. Nintendo shows up and everyone's all you're gonna show us is shit coming out this year?
Because people have the expectation, because people want Nintendo to, people have a special set of expectations for Nintendo, as to where Nintendo has so many beloved franchises, so many people want them to announce their dream games, even if their dream games aren't coming out this year. year, they still want to know that that's being made.
Gifpia 2? Where's Gifpia 2?
Right.
Captain Rainbow 2.
Yeah, Bethesda was great because they had some great games. They're coming out this year. Hell, I might even upgrade that to an A. It wasn't a lot of games, but I'm certainly interested in both Wolfenstein and Evil Within 2. They showed off Skyrim on Switch. I'm probably gonna buy that because I'm a sucker. And the idea
just for the use your
amiibo.
Zelda amiibos.
Yeah, exactly. Just to use my Zelda amiibos. Yeah, so I'm gonna give Bethesda an A. Let's see.
Got Ubisoft is next, right?
Ubisoft is a solid B. They're great. They opened it up. Like, amazing opening. I mean, come on.
I'd say Ubisoft a B too. Everybody else I'd give it D just because I personally don't give a shit about their stuff or because it wasn't good.
Right.
But Ubisoft, even the stuff that I'm not gonna get, a lot of that stuff even was kind of cool to watch.
They had.
Like, I'm never gonna get that Pirates game, but it was fun to watch.
It was fun to watch. It was definitely more fun to watch than Sea of Thieves, which was boring to watch. By the way, that was a very boring game.
But probably going to be more fun to play.
And the Ubisoft had the same.
Oddly enough.
Ubisoft had the same game. It looked much more exciting. Ubisoft. So that was funny for me. But no, Far Cry 5 looked great. I'm definitely going to be getting that. Assassin's Creed looked solid. I mean, if you like Assassin's Creed games, you're not going to be disappointed with Origins at all.
Mm-hmm.
They opened with a bang. They opened with Mario and Rabbids, which looked great. They brought Miyamoto on the stage. I mean, come on, anytime you get Miyamoto on your CU, that's an instant auto win because it's so great just seeing Miyamoto. And that was a great moment. And then they ended with a bang. They ended with Beyond Good and Evil 2, a game people have been dying to see. They showed a CG trailer. I know it's been divisive, but it looked fantastic to me. It got me really excited for that game.
Make a great movie.
It's clear that Michel Ancel has an ambitious vision for this game, and it was just a CG trailer. But again, nobody saw that. That was a genuine surprise that nobody saw coming. You gotta give them credit for that because those have been very few and far between. The C3, genuine surprise.
Even if you don't care about Beyond Good and Evil or Beyond Good and Evil 2, like seeing Michael Ancel get up on stage nearly in tears because he got to kind of make his dream game, basically.
That was
and seeing him kind of like thank Ease and seeing Ease kind of give him that nod of like, you're our man, I gotta give it to you. That kind of moment, that's powerful. That was powerful. Like a real moment.
Powerful. A B+. B+ all the way because they really, that was a powerful ending, and that was probably their best conference in years.
I also think that Toys to Life game they got looks kind of interesting.
That looks interesting, yeah.
I don't know if it looks necessarily good, but it's modular, which is really cool. So I'm kind of interested in seeing how that works. But yeah, I don't know if it'll be any fun, but it's you got to give them points for.
I give them points
for taking like a routine thing of saying like the Toys to Life games that are kind of their way in and doing something completely different with it. With this kind of modular aspect that nobody was doing, and you got to give them credit for that.
Sony was a B for me. They didn't do anything mind blowing. They didn't blow people away. They announced the new Monster Hunter, which I don't think which people didn't see coming. There was a lot of speculation and rumors. It was nice to have those rumors confirmed. And they also announced a remake of Shadow of the Colossus, which also looked fantastic. Other than that, like the most they
had another remake too, didn't they? That they showed.
I can't think of what that is. I don't think so.
See, I didn't see Sony's conference, and I haven't watched the trailers yet. I'm gonna watch those later tonight.
The rest of it was basically stuff they announced at previous conferences. Just more in depth, which is fine because these games are solid. They showed Days Gone, which I'm kind of over the whole zombie thing. Like the zombie games, but it looks like they're doing interesting things with this, where they showed this one scenario where you had to kind of, these enemy characters kidnapped one of your friends, and you had to go raid their encampment, sneak into their encampment, and get your friend back. And one of the cool things I saw is, like, he gets in there, there's guards everywhere, they're holding your guy in a tower, there's no realistic way for you to get past all those guards and get to your guy, and so he notices, right outside the gate, there's this huge horde of zombies, and so he just puts an explosive on the gate, blows it up, they all pour in, and all the men in the encampment kind of scatter and flee for their lives and get eaten, and amid that chaos, you can go and rescue your friend.
So, when that scene happens,
yeah,
do you have teammates that you're speaking to over an intercom in whispered voices?
No, it looks like it looks like it's single player. It doesn't. It looks like it's strictly a single player game.
So there's no like, all right, put the explosives on the gate and we'll sneak in when the chaos.
Right, exactly. I thought, well, that's neat. That's pretty. I like that. Spider-Man looked amazing. God of War looked great. They showed off some VR games, which, I thought was a great lineup. They actually showed a prequel to Until Dawn for PlayStation VR. They also had Final Fantasy 15 Fishing in VR. That's a real game.
Glamorous dude bro fishing.
Yep. I couldn't believe it. I was like, okay, this is a PlayStation. Oh, because I was like, oh yeah, there's that Final Fantasy VR content they promised. And wait, what? It's a fishing game now. What the hell is going on? We just get, of course, then Bethesda announced Skyrim for VR. There's this really great VR game about a mouse. I forgot what the name of it was, but it looked fantastic. And of course, people who aren't into VR won't care about any of this. And I think a lot of the negative reaction is that they did announce a lot of new VR games. But Sony put this thing out. They had people spend $400. They gotta cater to those customers. I'm sorry. I'm sorry if people don't like VR, but Sony can't just ignore those customers. So you gotta expect that a segment of their press conference, it reaffirms that this is still a thing Sony cares about and something that they are still focusing on getting quality content out for, which is great. For me, as somebody who bought one. So I'd like to see those
Speaking
games.
of VR, Ubisoft showed a VR game
They
too.
did show a VR game too.
And we have no idea what the fuck it is.
Yeah, I didn't get anything out of that. I'm definitely interested.
Elijah Wood's in it.
I'm definitely interested in that, but I didn't get anything out of that trailer, unfortunately. And I just thought that was a bad trailer because I want to see more of the actual game, and I guess the trailer kind of more focused on the concept, which and I thought, well, that was kind of a disappointing trailer for me.
It just looked like that Black Mirror episode about the video game testing.
Yes.
But yeah, so, you still have VR coming from Sony and a little kind of throwaway thing from Ubisoft that didn't really do a great job of showing us what it was. Was there any other, kind of real VR content going on in any of the other conferences? Did EA show any VR content?
The EA did. There was a World War II shooter. I forgot the name of it. It wasn't Call of Duty, though. For PlayStation VR. I didn't really see that. Sony also showed Marvel vs. Capcom at their E3. It looked like Marvel vs. Capcom. They showed Call of Duty and Destiny 2. They have marketing deals for those games. I can't remember anything else significant that was at that press conference.
So what's your letter grade for Sony?
A B. It's a B because
B.
They showed Detroit Become Human as well, which it's a David Cage game. If you love David Cage games, you might love this. I don't. I hate those games. So that didn't do anything for me. So I'd say a B because generally,
whatever happened to his weird wizard game that they showed with the?
I think that was just a
PS4.
I think that was just a tech demo. That was just a tech demo
Because that actually looked kind of interesting.
Yeah,
like, it was this weird thing with this wizard and this goblin or something, and then it turned out they were, like, on a film set.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
And I'm like, oh, that actually looks like it's kind of funny and interesting, and then nothing.
So yeah, because what they showed was extremely solid, and they looked like games that, and most of them were, for the most part, they were exclusive. They were God of War, Days Gone, Spider-Man. All the VR games that they showed were obviously exclusives. Lots of exclusive games, some third-party multi-platform games in there. Detroit was exclusive. I mean, and the best part is they didn't say the word exclusive 100 times. They just showed the games.
They just showed exclusives.
They made a much better case selling a PlayStation 4 Pro than Microsoft did selling an Xbox, and Sony already has their box on the market, and it's $100 cheaper. So, I think if you're going to directly compare Sony and Sony obviously won E3 so far
and I bet you Sony drops another $50 off that price tag come November.
Oh yeah. If they drop the price of the Pro, I think that will be, they don't even have to do that at this point, but they can do that.
Yeah.
And that will be
just a crush
them. That'll be a low blow. I could see them doing that though.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, they made a much better argument for buying a PlayStation than Microsoft did for buying an Xbox, and this was really the conference where Microsoft really had to sell that Xbox. So, you got that. And Nintendo is still a big unknown. They're tomorrow. We'll have to see what they come out with. I'm excited. I'm excited to see what Nintendo announces.
Wait, there's one other conference.
The PC gaming show? That was boring as shit.
No, there's another one.
Oh, the Devolver Digital?
A 15-minute.
Yeah, Devolver Digital. A++.
What's your letter grade for Devolver?
A+++. Like, I won't even tell you the games were irrelevant. Who cares? Who cares about the games? Just watch it. It was amazing. They crushed the competition. They won E3. Nothing's gonna top that.
Game over.
Game over. Exactly.
So we got Nintendo's conference coming up at 8 a.m. tomorrow. Today, by the time you listen to this, it'll be within hours of when you listen to this probably. But yeah, that's gonna be, an exciting one. It could suck. It could be great. I think right now Nintendo is prime. They're in the position where I will say again, and I've said this before, and I think I'm 100% right in saying this is Nintendo's show to lose. Now that doesn't mean they won't lose. It means if they do, that's on them entirely,
Right.
That Nintendo very, very well should win the C3, but there's a very high chance they won't. And we've seen that before. We're like, okay, Nintendo should win this. Nobody else showed anything really interesting. If Nintendo doesn't win this, then it means that Nintendo fucked up. And that could be the case. It could not be the case. We don't know what they're going to be doing with surprises. 25-minute conference is a little surprising for that, but we do have Mario, and that's a huge deal.
Yeah, they do have Mario. I mean, Nintendo's got Nintendo. We'll see. We'll see. Nintendo is unique in that they have great capacity to excite you as well as great capacity to disappoint you horribly. It's
if anything makes you rage or gleefully cheer and stand up and shout, it's going to be Nintendo at the C3.
Exactly.
And it will be one or the other.
It will be one or the other.
Alright, so, I think that's pretty much it. We're done talking about that. We're gonna do, hopefully this week we'll do our, post-Nintendo conference podcast. Hopefully we can get, Mike and Alex on for that. Not sure if we're gonna be able to though, but let's hope for that. In the meantime, you could check out the podcast, the Air podcast that Will and I do, the weekly set. We do that, every Thursday night we record it. It's available on Fridays. Recently we've been talking about American Gods and Twin Peaks. American Gods is almost over. We just got 2 more. We're covering it for 2 more weeks, and then that's it for the season. But we're going to be talking about about other stuff as it comes up. We're going to talk about Game of Thrones when it comes up. So you can subscribe to that through any major podcast client like iTunes or Pocket Cast. Just look up TV Enthusiast, and if you want to listen to us talk about TV stuff, that's the show for you. Until then, thank you everybody for listening. This is the Old Switcheroo, our Nintendo podcast.